7 minutes past 9. Here's a look at one of the top stories that we're following today. An alleged argument between a gardener, the son of former Zimbabwean President, is believed to have led to the shooting of a 23-year-old employee in Hyde Park, north of Johannesburg, South Africa. Two men aged 28 and 33, including the son of the late president, have been taken in for questioning as police investigate a case of attempted murder. Is in critical condition in hospital. To speak a little bit more about what has happened, we speak now to Dr. Suhayfa Bhamjee, Senior Lecturer in Criminal Law at the University of Kwa-Zulu Natal. Dr. Bhamjee, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. From what is out there in the media, what is your assessment of what has happened here and what the implications are?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so clearly from the reports and the interviews with the various police officers on the scene, definitely there was a shooting, and clearly it looks to be attempted murder. All we know is that two suspects were taken under arrest. We did see photographs of Mugabe's son, ex-president, late President Mugabe's son, in handcuffs. But there's no sort of formal declaration that he's arrested as a suspect. Now, there's different ways or reasons why someone would be arrested. For questioning would be one. But clearly, of the two people, by logic, he's probably one of them that have been taken. Whether he's been formally charged yet or, well, we'll see. I'm sure it'll come through the magistrates' courts for that. And I'm guessing there'll likely be a bail application as well. But there are certain ramifications for this because, as you've said, the victim here, the gardener, is critical. And so what you're looking at here at the moment is a criminal charge of attempted murder. Obviously, there are things about intention, etc., that go towards that. But
are you still with us, Dr. Bhamjee? And it looks like, unfortunately, we've lost connection to that line. Let's see if we can raise her again. We're speaking about police in Johannesburg arresting three individuals, one understood to be the son of Zimbabwe's late president, Robert Mugabe. It's been reported that there was a shooting of a 23-year-old employee in Hyde Park, north of Johannesburg. This employee is said to be the gardener of the late president's son, and we understand that the victim is in a critical condition in hospital. We are in conversation with Dr. Suhayfa Bhamjee, who's a senior lecturer in criminal law at the University of Kwa-Zulu Natal. She's speaking to us about what has happened here. And you were making the distinction, Dr. Bhamjee, about the arrest, being arrested and being detained, but you are also speaking about what police will be looking for at this point. So can you just continue with your last train of thought?
Yeah, apologies for that. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can, loudly, clearly.
Yes. So the last train of thought was, like you said, we're looking at a victim who is critically injured. And on those facts, you'd be looking at attempted murder. But should that person pass away or die as a result of these injuries, you're looking at a murder charge. Now, the police say that they found the bullet shells. I think they're still looking for the murder weapon. Literally, they're looking for the smoking gun. And I think there's much to be said of the resistance from the occupants of the premises to allow the police in, but we'll have to see how that overturns. I think what they're looking for is definitely the murder weapon. They'll be looking for evidence like fingerprints, but other ballistics evidence like blood splatter, gunshot residue, and taking all of those samples from whoever's been arrested and using that to build a case.
And I want to look at that building of a case. As you said, police encountered resistance. There's the issue of a warrant to either search the resident and obtain evidence. What are the steps that would be involved, particularly with the recovery of the firearm, given that we understand that has not been done as yet?
Yeah, so typically, I mean, this was a live scene. And so there's much to be said in terms of criminal procedure law of being able to act on a live scene without needing to go and formally get a warrant, a search warrant, a search and seizure warrant from the courts, because you'd be able to satisfy reasonable suspicion of weapons, of other evidence necessary, which are likely to have been destroyed or spirited away, if you will, given, if you think about the time it takes to go to court and get a search warrant. But over and above that, so in those circumstances, it would be quite permissible for the police to go in and search for and seize what would be reasonably expected as items or whatever relevant to this crime. And policing that. But over and above that, if you want to become more strict about it, or certainly you'd want to, in coming days, they have to go through to the magistrate's court and get a search warrant. But I think there's enough certainly here to say that they could go in. But again, there are some rules about, who's got control of the premises and whether they give permission and do give permission, etc. So there's a number of those technicalities that need to be gotten around, but not impossible.
And I want to look at that because you mentioned that it's a live scene, and I want to understand what then are the challenges, particularly in successful prosecution. If police have to act with urgency, in this case, this is somebody who is in a serious condition, as you said, there's a possibility, and not necessarily wishing that on them, but just to say, should the unfortunate happen that that person passes away, that the police would have had to act with haste. So the procedural considerations of handling that, and also there's the issue of privilege, a high profile suspects and public opinion.
Yeah, so look, I think given everything that's been unfolding at present, I think the court of public opinion is certainly weighing heavy on very many, many, many things that are unraveling in the South African news, the criminal justice system, and also internationally. But we won't go into those murky waters just yet. But certainly, when you raise the thing about how high profile, here we're just talking also just high profile of the individuals involved. And, a question that does come up, well, how does diplomatic immunity work in this case? Does it work at all? And those are certainly valid questions to be asking, because is this privilege going to be used to thwart an investigation, to frustrate the investigation, halt it, or, prevent things like arrest, detainment without bail applications? There's a number of factors here, and we can dive deeper into the question of diplomatic immunity as we chat.
So let's do that. What are and these are, or should we say, in this particular case, what's come out in the media is that the son of former President Robert Mugabe, who is obviously no longer a sitting head of state, who is deceased. So would they still enjoy that if the parent that would have allowed them to have that diplomatic immunity is deceased? And just even their relationship with the sitting head of state, is that I just want to understand the intricacies of that, because there is the issue of what happens with the judiciary and prosecutors in the balance of fair treatment.
Yes. So, those diplomatic immunities exist for the sitting head of state while they are sitting, and they extend as far as other members in the cabinet or persons designated with particular immunities. They don't necessarily translate to family members. So here, in this case, you've got sort of a double whammy. First of all, the person themselves is not a sitting member of state, just a family member. And I say just a family member. And I'll explain why that's also important to talk about, because I think today has been a very bad day to be a relative of or someone in power, internationally as well. And the other thing also counting against is that the sitting head of state, or the parental link, if you're looking, is no longer the head of state and is deceased. So when we look at it that way, there's no sort of coming back from or relying on diplomatic immunity from the legal perspective. The political perspective is an entirely different conversation, which we should probably be having with a political analyst expert. But just going back to the point about me saying it seems to be a very bad day for heads of state and their family members. I mean, we just saw what's unfolded with Andrew Mountbatten and his arrest, and King Charles saying, well, the law must take its course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I need to ask this question quickly before we run out of time. I mean, for a lot of people, and we know there's a great deal of speculation that will happen on social media platforms, but there's an issue of workplace safety and conflict management. So the possible defense of self-defense in a case where there is lack of clarity on what led to the shooting. What is within the realm of possibilities, and what should employers keep in mind where either they feel that they're threatened or they are threatening an employee?
Yeah, so look, that's a great question, but it's also an aside. There are very many requirements to rely on the defense of private defense. We call it private defense, but self-defense is a form of private defense. And violence is not the answer. I mean, that's a simple thing. We've all been taught that. But there does come a time, even forget about whether in an employee-employer situation where that reaction would be seen as reasonable and even necessary in certain circumstances and not out of bounds or, in a sense, overreacting. So in a way, you want to think about how can you kill a mosquito? Well, you can spray doom on it, or you can try and fire a bazooka at it, right? You need to, when you're engaging the private defense, it's about what is the least the least harm in those circumstances, or the more reasonable way to effect that. Okay. But as far as employers and employees in the workplace, I think you should escalate to, use the Labor Relations Act, use the Labor Relations Law, engage the CCMA, and even call in the police if whether the employee is feeling threatened or even an employer is feeling threatened in that way.
All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Bhamjee, I really thank you for your time and those insights you've shared with us. Dr. Suhayfa Bhamjee is a senior lecturer in criminal law at UKZN, speaking to us about this incident that's been reported. Former President of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe's son, involved allegedly in a shooting with a gardener and employer. 2 people have been taken in by police, and the victim is said to be in a serious condition in hospital. Brings the time to 20 minutes past 9.